Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Just a couple of fun games, fun activities, conversations that Nathan and I have together. What we give to you extra as you patrons out there as a thank you for supporting us. But if you choose not to, do not worry. It does not affect any regular content. But today, we're going to be talking about 1958's Giants and Toys, directed by Yasuzo Masumura. It is a scathing portrayal of the Japanese business culture of the 1950s and how consumerism was kind of taking over Japanese culture. And Nathan, I got to ask you, what's the most important thing in the world?
Caramel, of course, right?
Selling caramel candies. These people will sacrifice their lives, personal lives, their personal health to sell these freaking candies.
Yes, these candies. The 3 giants of caramel candies too. Isn't that crazy? That the 3 huge names of caramel. And we all know them. I don't think I have to even name them. They're that popular.
Yeah, Willy Wonka and
Giant,
Apollo, and World.
World, yes.
Yes, I remembered those. But no, and actually, okay, so this was originally based off of a short story that had kind of the same themes that were involved, but for the most part, it was just the framework was kind of taken where it had like these 3 giant companies that were taken and they just kind of inserted their own original story with it too. So it's a really interesting story because it's whatever you want to call it, like 3 kind of peers. They each work for a different candy company.
It's
sort
so
of
funny to me that it's like 3 friends and they all ended up working at different caramel companies.
Yeah, it's a great moment because the 2 of the friends are like old college buddies. They were kind of reminiscing about their old college days, and then another one's this woman who works for the company, and she's like real flirtatious. And at first, they're all kind of goofing around and like, oh, like what kind of ideas are you giving? But then as the movie goes on, this relationship kind of develops over time into this very like quid pro quo type of relationship where it's like, okay, you're going to give me this idea, I'm going to take this idea type of thing. Or they're always grilling each other for information about what the other company is doing.
Yeah.
And they all have their own business tactics, and it just ends up becoming like this real muddy kind of betrayal at the end. And that's kind of like the main story, but there is a wide variety of cast and characters in this movie. And I really like this a lot. Like it was so fun to me.
Yeah, no, this is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I know. No, this movie's great. No, it was really good. I didn't know what to expect going in. This movie was 2 like blind movies that ended up being really good, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because just for context, Nathan and I, not only do we like Criterion movies, but now we're fans of Arrow movies.
Yeah, I know.
So another expensive boutique Blu-ray, but this one was also part of the Arrow set, and the cover for it just looks so interesting. When you see it, because it's a cover of this girl, she's in a spacesuit and she's got like this little ray gun, and you're just like, I was like, what is this all about? Like, so
yeah, and she looked like she had like a missing tooth or something on the cover. I was like, you know what? Yeah, this looks cool. And it's called Giants and Toys. I kind of was expecting a kaiju movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought it would have like a monster or something in it. It does not. It's
No.
in quotations grounded, but very it's an interesting satire. I was thinking about this. It's a movie. It's a movie that after it was done, I thought about it a lot. Where it's not like a satire where it's like over the top, but it is definitely like scathing is the word you would say. Like it is just like it plays it so straight. It's a very funny movie. I think it's just a very like interesting, silly movie.
Yeah, there's so the main protagonist, I guess, is mainly this guy named Nishi. He's kind of like a young business executive, and he has kind of a mentor role with this other man who's married to the director's daughter. So he's kind of had like this nepotism type of role, and he's trying to
Yeah.
take over of the company and become like the new director. And just that guy, that character alone is a real crazy individual because he
Yes.
will do anything to
Yeah.
get a sale. But and including so there's like I said, there's these three companies that are competing for who can sell the most caramels, and they're kind of at a neck and neck type of race, and they're always trying to think of these ad campaigns. One company is like, oh, well, we'll give out live animals as a as a gift.
Horrible idea. But
Yeah, I was like, okay. And then but their idea is like, oh, we're going to give out spacesuits. And
yeah. Well,
so that's why
he stole that idea though, because his woman there was like, "Oh yeah, a space theme would be cool," and he's like, "Got it. That's my idea now."
yeah, well, he did take that from her, but the director said, he's like, oh yeah, I was actually researching that idea 2 weeks
That's
ago.
true. That's true.
So it just kind of shows like he was behind the ball, and like the director was kind of thinking 2 steps ahead.
As always.
But they're kind of looking for this face for a campaign, and the real heart of this story, or like the real character that has like a big breakthrough moment, is this girl named Kyoko. And at first, it's so, I found myself kind of falling into the trap of like what this movie was setting, because at first when you see this girl, she's pretty, not to be mean, but she's pretty ordinary at first.
Well, and she has rotten teeth.
She's got rotten teeth. But the guy says like, I see something in her, and they make this big photo spread about her as like a typical teenager.
Yeah.
And then you don't know, like you just start becoming like enamored with her, where it's just like, oh yeah, like, I want to see more of this character. I want to see what she's doing and everything.
No, she's a really interesting character. I really liked her. She's like the heart of the movie, right? When you're surrounded by like these people that are so caught up in their job that's literally killing them, to see Kyoko kind of being lively and like just a nice person, and like, well, not really a nice person, a typical teenager, I should say. I don't know. It's fun to watch and see what she does. I think, but she's excellent in this role. I think she like really does a great job. She's probably my favorite part of the movie.
Oh yeah, she's great. I mean, she's been in other productions as well. But
her and the main guy, they were actually in one of Ozu's best movies, Yoshiro Ozu's Floating Weeds, together. So
that's right.
Yeah,
she's a phenomenal actress. But I don't know, she does a really great job it's so, this movie is almost like it's almost relevant today. Just as well, because they take this girl from nothing, and at first, she's kind of like this really nice, sweet girl, and spoiler, she kind of goes on this big rise to fame and becomes the exact opposite of that. And but on the way there, though, they do try to paint her this really sweet, humble girl, but she's got a real nasty attitude. I mean, she's got the, go ahead.
Oh no, like I said, she's a typical teenager, like just kind of like you said, nasty attitude, always has something to say. They show her family at one point, and she just picks on her little brother and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and they even say like at one point she's like, oh, like I can't wait to take all this money and spend it on myself, and they're like, don't ever say that ever again.
Yeah. Especially when she has a sick dad at home who miraculously becomes okay as soon as she starts making some money.
I think the interesting thing too is she does have this very lively personality. There's a very uncomfortable scene though, where when they're driving her to this photo shoot,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't want anything to do with this photo shoot. She has no interest in fame. They tell her like, oh, you're going to be in magazines, we're going to take all these pictures of you, and she's like, I want out. And they literally pin her to
Yeah.
like the car seat, and they're like, no, you're getting this photo shoot done.
Yeah. We're gonna make you look good on camera, you little liar. Like so yeah, they force her to do it. She ends up liking it because the whole idea is that the guy who does the photo shoot makes women really happy with any photo that he takes, and he's a sleazeball. But I did really like this character too.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's always funny. I guess like talking about satire over and over again, I guess this movie is satirical of like Japanese culture at the
Oh yeah.
time, where the idea is that your life is your career, that once you get a career that it's going to be your life, and there's not really much more to it. There's a lot more there, but that's our main thing here, and it's taken to the ultimate extreme. Like you said, the director here, love this character because he is dying, like, and it's not even like me being like figurative. He is dying, coughing, dying, but he will give his life for caramel.
That's kind of what it's almost like this movie had like an evolutionary track to it with the
Yeah.
three characters, because you got the young character who's kind of finding his footing in the business world, and then you got kind of like the middle character, which is like the real craze guy, like he's in the middle of it, and then the director of the entire company, he's kind of like the after effects, or like he's been through, he's, because he even says like you guys don't know anything about the war of business, like you don't know like what this does to you. You got to start thinking like you're in the feudal times and start making like wartime strategies. And but he's just so world weary of going through like this world of business where he's just like on his last breath, and he's still hanging on to this company, and despite everyone telling him he needs to retire.
Yeah, giving his life to caramel of all things. And I mean, I like caramel as much as the next guy, but I don't know. I don't know if I do this. I don't know if I'd go to these lengths.
They go and try to think of all these different business strategies. Like I said, the one guy, they think of, they get the girl, and then another company, the Apollo company, they're like, you could win a free subsidized life from cradle to the grave. You basically get money for the rest of your life.
Yeah, which is, you wouldn't take that?
Well, I would, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I would take that over a spacesuit or a live animal.
No, I'd take it over a ray gun any day of the week. I would take over.
You want the ray gun more than the subsidized life?
I'm just kidding, but no. Another thing that's funny about this advertising that they talk about her rotten teeth. They're like, oh yeah, she eats so much caramel that her teeth rot out. And I'm like, that's not good advertising.
I know, that's funny. They thought that was like a great choice.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, great. I mean, I guess it proves that she loves it, but I don't know. I wouldn't sell my candy by being like, yeah, kids, your teeth are gonna rot out.
She loves it that much.
I guess so. I wonder what got her teeth that bad.
Poverty, I don't know.
Oh yeah, poverty. Makes sense. But no, I love just the advertising in general, just the competition, because they all three have different buses that drive down the streets, and they all meet at like the same places. It's pretty much like a war, like we said.
Well, there's one scene in particular where the company Giant, they go out and they have this big giant bright blue bus, and they actually are trying to sell caramels to demonstrators for a protest. Like, hey, after you're done protesting, come buy some caramel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good after protest snack. Um,
But it's just funny because they don't
yeah,
even care
yeah.
what they're protesting. It's just like,
Eat the
oh,
candy.
buy the candy, you idiots.
Yeah, no, I love like just it's moments like that where it's just like taken to the ultimate extreme. And Kyoko's just taken along for the ride. She becomes so like, I don't know, she becomes a hot commodity. Everyone ends up loving her, I guess.
She goes everywhere, and
hmm
she has a crush on Nishi, the young executive,
hmm
but he has zero attachment to her, zero affection for her.
Yeah.
And it does finally come to a head where she's like, well, why don't you just be my boyfriend and we could date and stuff? And he's like, no way, you're just going to be a stupid girl with rotten teeth.
Yeah. Ooh, yikes.
um, and there's a whole lot of other downfalls that happen where the Apollo company has like a big fire, and the old director is saying, we should help them during this time because this will improve our image. And they're like, no, kill them while they're down. And it has the exact opposite effect where all their sales start going down too.
Yeah, exactly. So, they kind of got a taste of what they got or what they dished out. Trying to think about what else happens because the movie kind of rapidly takes a downfall. They actually end up losing Kyoko, and then I love Kyoko's change here. She changes from one scene, and then next time you see her, she's like the spoiled actress. No rotten teeth. She's above the advertising campaigns now.
Yeah, and it's she does a complete 180, and like you said, later when she starts making money, her whole family, they lived in this real like shack basically, and now they're all wearing super nice clothes and their appliances, and they're like, this house isn't fitting for Kyoko's family, we're moving out.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. And then there's a scene just to show you what I guess what she does now. There's a musical number in this movie too.
Yes, in the middle of it, it gave me flashbacks to one movie we did recently, Casino Royale, where just in the middle of it, she fully sings and everything.
There's a it shows you like their own downfalls, like you said. It just they get consumed by their own greed and thirst for power. And the one guy that's married to the director's daughter, the real crazed guy in this movie, you do get kind of little glimpses into his personal life with his wife. Like there's one scene where his wife comes in the room when he's like having when he's with the younger executive, and she brings him tea. He doesn't even look at her. He doesn't even acknowledge her in any type of way. And that just, you can just tell they're in a completely loveless marriage. And there's a later scene where the young executive comes looking for him, and he runs into the wife, and she's like, oh, he comes home late every single night, I hardly ever see him.
Yeah, it's like just, and that moment actually made me kind of sad because that, once again, it's like the working man loses his family, wants nothing to do with them. It's
yeah, that's just to show you how consumed he is by his whole greed. And and this character too is also literally dying too, because he gets promoted, and he wants to become the best director, and he starts coughing up blood. And and despite all efforts, he doesn't get any rest. Like everyone always says, like, you look tired, and he's like, I haven't slept in days.
Yeah, and he's like taking pep pills with like some, I forget what the other thing is, but he's just mixing certain drugs together, and like
he's taking like uppers and downers, and he's mixing them all together.
And the guy is like, what are you doing? You can't mix these. And he's just like, I'm making it, I'm surviving, because he's so torn up about the caramel business.
It comes to a head finally. So they can't get Kyoko back, and it come to find out that Nishi, his friend from the giant corporation, has stolen Kyoko and became her manager.
Yep.
And just like, okay, she's out of the advertising game. And there's a little moment, there's a moment there where he like confronts him. He's like, how could you do this? We were friends. He's like, it's not personal, it's just business. And he's like, it's like, that was a long time ago when we were friends. Everyone wants to get to the top. I mean, don't you have ambitions of getting to the top? I mean, you got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. And I think it's like around this time where once again, this movie ends, like, I really love the way this movie ends, because I think Nishi there, off of that, gets just so fed up with it all. Like, he's just angry at the world. Like, why is it like this? Like, my friend's betraying me, my boss is dying. And like, he, in the final scene in the office, I think is a great scene between Nishi and his boss there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to get Kyoko to go back to do the ad campaign, but when they don't, the guy's like, fine, I'll do it. He's coughing up so much blood he can't even put the spacesuit on, and he passes out. And Nishi at first was just like, I'm done, I'm leaving, and walks out. And then when he sees him laying there, he's just like begrudgingly, like, oh, fine, give me the suit. And
I know. And it's after, like, he has this whole conversation where he's like, we shouldn't live like this, we should separate like our career and life, and like, this is just insane. I don't want to have to do this. But after it all, he finally is just like, all right, I'll wear the spacesuit. I will advertise for us.
And it's such a downer moment, because it's like the cycle continues where he's now gonna sacrifice his personal life and well-being to do what it takes for the company. And he goes out in the street wearing a spacesuit, like in the middle of a big crowd, and he gets pointed at and laughed at. So he's sacrificing whatever humility he has left of him.
Yeah.
And he just looks like a big fool. And his girlfriend at the time, because they end up kind of like doing, like, betraying each other. There's a whole ordeal with them too, but she does come around and eventually feels bad for him. It's like, come on, smile.
Yeah. And he does smile, so I think there's a positive there. Well, I do think Kyoko makes it out of, I mean, she completely changed as a person, but she makes it out of it. She's a rich person, at least.
I mean, she does get what she wants, kind of, but at the same time, she's not in a very good place, because the guy, the friend of Nishi, he's like his manager, is like, oh, I'm also her lover too. But they have like but there's a scene when it's just the two of them together where it's very clearly that there is no chemistry between them, and this is clearly just like a business type of love relationship, or whatever you want to call it. Or she's doing it to get back at Nishi, and he's doing it so that way he doesn't lose her as a client. That's
true. And that's that is pretty depressing. This whole movie is depressing, huh?
So I watched the special features to this, and there's a lot of really great moments and stuff that you didn't notice, where like there's a scene earlier where Nishi and his friend go to a bar, but it was like a bar they went to when they're in college, and it's a bunch of college age kids, like in their uniforms, singing and having fun, and they're in their really stuffy business suits, and they're just like, we used to like this place.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like showing them like how out of touch they are with like their past selves, and how they've gone away from that side, and they end up going to this real sophisticated bar afterwards. And this movie is in color, which is important to note, because that was an intentional choice.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because a lot of critics at the time had said, like, this movie is so loud and like it's like, this is way too much color, like,
really
type of thing. But that was Masamura's intentional choice. He was like, this movie is supposed to be loud, it's supposed to look kind of ugly, with the amount of colors, because this is a very brightly colored movie. But
I would say it looks great. I love the look of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people were still getting used to. I guess people were still getting used to color at the time, but there's other really good scenes in here that don't have too much to do with the plot. Like, there's one scene where there's a salesman talking about like how he does his sales tactics. He's like, Like, I'm the frontline man, and you publicists, you're my ammunition.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
There's really great moments like that. That I love the scene where like the two competing buses are in the middle of the street. So it's like Giant and World are trying to compete, and World has that little company jingle playing constantly, and Giant, they've hired like this big
guy,
big muscle bound strong man in a loincloth and handing out candies. And Apollo, they just have like the one sign because they get just as much business from one sign.
Yeah, exactly, which is funny. And how different do you think these candies even taste?
I mean, how I'm assuming it's just a block of caramel, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
isn't it
square?
They don't show the other companies, but they show like theirs, and it's just a little square. I don't know. I guess that's part of the funniness of it too, is literally they're the same companies, but they're just fighting against each other.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what a lot of these big companies are now.
Yeah. True.
Except Coke and Pepsi. There's clear difference there.
Okay, sure. Whatever you say.
Yeah.
No, there is.
But, Coke is better.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the stance. Yeah, I think even Coke knows. Guy who works at Coke wakes up and goes to the factory. He's like, I'm gonna try my hardest to make this taste worse than Pepsi. I don't know. Yeah.
I run into Pepsi vendors all the time. They tell me they're scared of Coke vendors.
Really, it's like it's a battle now. Okay, I can see it. Yeah, where I really love whoever Pepsi spokesperson is versus Coke spokesperson is. What is it? Are you a Coke rewards person or a Pepsi points person? That's what I ask people.
I've got my mini Coke fridge right here.
Yeah, I got my Pepsi Man suit right over there.
Got my Diet Coke socks on.
Oh yeah, you do. Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
It doesn't seem like much has changed, and and this is, what is it now? It's like 66 years or something like that in the
long time
future.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying this movie is almost still relevant today. You still have these big corporate giants just battling it out for each other, and they're all thinking in different ways. But I really like the business espionage of a lot of it, where it's just like these three characters trying to get information out of each other. I mean, because at first that relationship between Nishi and the girl, it's kind of like I'll pretend to flirt with you if you give me some information type of thing. And then it eventually blossoms into like a real romance type of thing. But little moments like that, like I said, it looks great. A lot of snappy dialogue, just a real hidden gem of something that I didn't know I wanted, but I'm glad I found it. And since then too, I also watched one of his other movies after this, and he does other type of like business type of movies. There's at least two other ones that I know of. So
gotcha. So he has similar themes. Would you say he's like maybe a new favorite director?
We'll see. I liked his first two movies of his that I've seen, so we'll see as we go into the other filmography.
Yeah, no, and I really think just from this movie, he seems like a really cool director. I think it's a neat movie. It was a movie that was unexpected to me what I was going to get, and no, it's like you said, it's a beautiful movie, and it becomes really funny, and I love the ending of this. I think check it out if you do get a chance to check it out. I didn't get to watch any of the special features on the Arrow disc, but just looking at the movie, I think it looks great. I think Arrow did a great job with this release.
And I will recommend the commentary track that's on there too, if you do get a chance, because it's done by a film scholar of Japan, and she does a really great job, because it's not dry at all. Like, she's constantly throwing about facts to you. And sometimes I've noticed on a lot of these commentaries, it'll be like somebody that worked on the movie just droning on about one of their story. Like, oh, I have this really funny story that happened on set, or let me tell you every little detail I did to make this one tiny prop or something. And it's interesting, but it gets old after an hour and a half.
Yeah, I think like knowing me at least, what I like when a scholar or a historian talks about it, because I really like historical context and like what impact this made. Because I was just reading that the British Film Institute listed this as one of the best Japanese movies like ever made, and I've heard that it from just reading that it was a very important movie for the time. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree too about the commentary. I mean, it sounds crazy to say that. I'd rather hear somebody that studies this movie than somebody that actually made this movie.
Yeah.
But it's true. They usually have a lot more information and historical context with this,
Yeah,
and make it sound it makes it sound like a huge like research paper.
yeah, kind of, yeah. But no, cool. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. So we both give this a recommend.
Yep.
But Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right. So next time, I've got a little something special for y'all at home. We have a kung fu double feature coming up next week. We haven't done anything kung fu related in a long time, so I'm excited to get to that. And this one coming up is called Dirty Ho from 1979. Oh, yeah. It's not what you're thinking. Get your mind out of the gutters. His name is Ho. Okay, all right. But yes, Dirty Ho is streaming over on Arrow Player, and it's streaming over on the Internet Archive for free, so you don't have to pay anything to watch it over there.
Fantastic, but always support the official release if you can. And
yes, if you can.
But thank you so much for joining us. Once again, if you have any thoughts, opinions about this podcast, please email us over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Patreon at DIDF Pod. And once again, check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast. But until next time.
Until next time.